Hey, welcome back. So in the last video we painted textures for our 3D character. We used Photoshop to paint on his skin details, his lips, his freckles. And we did that using the UV map that we created in videos before that, in the previous videos. So we're going to continue this today in this video. We're going to get his textures and materials created, the Arnold materials for his clothes. So if you remember, we used the Arnold render viewport here. So let's just let's just hide everything at the moment. We just want to show just the polygons so we can see just the character, get rid of the lights and everything. And we use this little Arnold viewport render to give us a little preview of what our lighting and texture would look like. We've just put a basic dome light in from now, if you remember from the previous video. So it gives us a little just preview of what we did before, and you can see at the moment his clothes have just looked really weird and shiny. That's because it doesn't have a Maya Arnold material applied to it yet. So we're going to create that, and we're going to do the same process, and we're going to add some more details to the clothes. Let me just stop this a minute. So first of all, if you remember from the previous video, we want to actually export our UV map that we created for the geometry. So let's go up to UV editor, and that comes up here. This is the UVs we created in a previous video. So we're going to go to image, UV snapshot, and we're going to export this out, and it should automatically go. If I click browse, let me just bring the window back onto this screen. I'm using multiple screens. It should automatically go into your images folder. Okay, so I'm going to call it top UVs. You can see I've already I've saved it once before. Call it what you want, t-shirt, shirt, whatever your thing you're working on is. Yes, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in PNG. I'm going for 2048 square resolution again, and a white edge. So get that up, set it, give it your name. It should go into your folder, and click apply and close. And then I'm going to overwrite the one I've got there. And then that is our image save. So that will go directly into your project folder. So let me just drag that one onto the screen. And as you can see, here's my project folder. If I go to my main project folder, you've got images and you've got source images. So it goes into the images, and there it is, the top UVs. And you can see we've exported the UV map there for creating and painting in Photoshop. So now let's head over onto Photoshop and get and start painting the texture for this character. Okay, so now we're over in Photoshop. You can either just go File and open your UV's image, or we can just simply just select it, drag and drop into Photoshop, and it'll automatically open. And because we created it at 2048 by 2048 pixels, it automatically creates the canvas size for us. Now, I don't know if you can see it. It's quite when I zoom in, you can see the UVs. It's coming with a transparent background, which is perfect for what we want. Now, if yours doesn't do that, that's fine. You can just either use a blending mode. If you've done it as a JPEG or something, you can go to multiply to overlay it, and it works just as well. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start off by creating a new layer, and I just like to just get a white layer just in case we need it for anything. So I'm just going to click OK, then I'm going to hit Shift F5 to bring up my fill, and I'm going to fill it with white. Okay, so we've got a layer just so we can see our UVs underneath, and let's just name this UVs. So now you can see our UVs on the t-shirt, the layout quite nicely here. I'm going to click Control and 0 to fill up the frame. So now what you want to do is start off with a base color and decide what color you wanted it. I went with a little blue in the end. So let's again create a new layer, and we'll call this base color. So when you're designing your character, just you can edit these. You can use whatever colors you need. Let's call this base color. And I am now going to fill this with the color I want, which is a blue. So you go to your foreground color, and let's bring up your color palette. And I'm just gonna choose a nice sort of deep sort of blue like this maybe. And again, Shift F5, or you can go up to layer and fill. And this time switch it to foreground color, because that is the foreground color, and this is the background color here. Okay, so click OK. And there you go, we filled it with our color. So we've already filled the t-shirt, so it's got a base color, but it's pretty plain at the moment. So what I want to do is I would like to add a little pattern to the front. So this is the front and this is the back. So what I've done is you can use any graphic you want, design your own. What I've done is I've just got a little free sort of stock image in in Illustrator, in Adobe Illustrator. Let me just move these out of the way. It's just a really simple graphic here. And I'm just going to, you can either save it as a PNG or save it as in the Illustrator file and bring that in, but mine's got a little white border here that I want to be able to control the opacity and the look of. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the background, and it between Illustrator and Photoshop it works really well. You can just hit Control C, which is copy, or you can go up to Edit and copy. Okay, and then we're going to go back over into our Photoshop and just click Control V to paste, and it brings up this little palette. Sorry, it keeps coming on my other monitors. And I'm just going to go with pixels for now, just paste that in and then hit return to confirm the size and the scaling that you want. And then I'm going to go back to Illustrator again, and I'm going to select the rest of it and do it again. Control C, I'm going to close this down, select into Photoshop, and Control V to paste the graphics in. And there you go, and I'm going to hit return again. So what I've done is I've kept them exactly the same scale. So over in our layers palette, they're here. I've got the graphic on top. If I hide and show that, and then the base behind. So I'm going to select both, and I'm going to drag them down into a folder just so we can keep them together. And I'm just going to call this graphic. Now let's position this to where we want. So I'm just going to scale this down. So you can either hold Shift. If you hold Shift and Alt, it will scale from the center. So I'm going to scale this down. It'd be good if just design your own T-shirt, just have fun with it. And let's see, maybe that's a bit big. Something just on the chest like this. I'm going to hit return. Let's just zoom in. I'm going to hit the Control and plus key to zoom in. So now what I want to do is I want to just bring the opacity of this white panel down. So you've got the opacity slider here. Just sort of drag it down to something to see what looks good. Something like that is fine for now. That looks good, and you can see you can hide your UVs just to see that it without the UVs to see what it looks like. I'm going to turn that back on. I'm going to hit Control 0 to go back out. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to give this a sense that it is it is fabric. We want to make it look like fabric. There's lots of textures out there on the internet, but I would recommend becoming like a member of some sort of textures library. They're quite cheap, and you can have 10, 20 monthly downloads or hundreds a month for a lot cheaper. So I mean, I got this fabric from somewhere. And I'm just going to, I think this was from textures.com, which is a really good resource. I'm just going to drag it in. And it comes in like this. It's just a grayscale image at the moment. I'm going to scale it up, and I'm going to move, because I don't want to scale it all the way over both back and front, because it will be too big. We want it just to be a small grain. So let's just say something like this, just up there. And that looks quite good. I'm just going to make sure it's covered everything, and at the moment now it's covered everything, so we need to give this a nice blending mode. Now we want our we might need it behind our graphic or on top. Again, you can play with this, so let's just play with the different blending modes. And as you can see, as I sort of roll my cursor over these, you get sort of different blending modes and different feels, and the one I'm going to go with is just soft light. And as you can see, what that does is it leaves just the fabric texture over the top. So let me just zoom in and just show you this. So you can see this, it's just left this nice fabric mixed with our blue. Let me just turn off the UVs, and yeah, it's quite a nice little feel. You might want this smaller, but it's just a cartoon character for now. So we want that duplicated down the bottom. So let's turn our UVs back on and duplicate this layer. So you can either go up to, you can either just drag it on here, or you can, which duplicates the layer, or you can hold down the Alt and drag. So I'm just going to drag this down to the bottom. As you can see now, I have, make sure, you can see I've just misaligned it there. Make sure you've got it all covered. So now we have got our t-shirt texture. So we've got the graphic on the front. We've got this nice, nice little sort of material feel. Now what we want to do is you want to now save that as a PNG and apply it back to our character. So let's just hide the UVs, because if you don't hide the UVs, it's actually going to appear in the texture, and you'll see sort of this wireframe UV pattern. So go up to here, File. You can either do Export As or just a quick export as PNG. And then we're going to go out to our images folder, and then go into what I would do is go back into your source images, and then I've got sort of, you know, a folder set up for here, and then you can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call this boy t-shirt, and then I'm going to put color after it, because we are actually going to want not just a color but a bump match texture, which we're going to go over in a minute. So let's save that, and then let's go back to Maya and apply our texture. Okay, here we are back in Maya, and we're going to do the same as we did before, where we created a new Maya Arnold material to apply like we did the body. So let's open up our Hypershade, this little button here, if you remember. It's going to come up, obviously, I'm trying to fit everything in for you on one screen here, so let's just dock this over here. Hopefully we can get some more screen space for you guys. Just get rid of this window and move it over. You can see that you can customize your viewport, you know, to whatever layout you want, really. You know, we can't really see that much because of the lesson has to be all on one screen, but hopefully it give you, you know, you've got enough space to see what I'm doing. So over here, we've applied our texture to our body before, so let's do the same now with the t-shirt. So select the t-shirt. What you want to do is create a new Maya material. I'll just open this up a bit more again for you. So we want to choose a not V-Ray, but we want a because I use V-Ray. As I mentioned before, you can use different renderers. But we're going with obviously Maya because it comes free. So let's just scroll down, and we want the AI standard shader. So there it is. So just click or just drag, and we've got our material. Let me just move it over, just trying to get some more room. There we go. You can zoom out same as you do in the other viewports. Let's just call this t-shirt. So what you can either select here or up in the attribute editor. So let's call this t-shirt material Arnold, which is AI, isn't it? So what we're going to do is now we need to go back to our folder where we saved our t-shirt. So let's open up our images and source images folder. So we've got our images. Let me just move this over a minute. We're in images folder here. So what I want to do is go to my main folder again, source images. Cartoon boy textures, and there you can see it there. Boy t-shirt color is the one that we made. So you can import these in, but it's just as easy to drag and drop like we've been doing the whole way through. I'm going to close this folder down again. It's got more space, and again, as I mentioned before, it doesn't come up here. It's always been like this with Maya until you sort of open it in the attribute editor. Which I've actually closed down for now, but let me just reopen it up again. And when you double click here, it appears. It's been like that since Maya version like 2008 or something. I don't know why it's never been fixed, but there we go. Let me just close this down. Just trying to keep as much space for you as possible. And now we want to apply it like we did it before. So let's open this up so we've got some more room to play with. I'm going to move the material to the right. I don't know why, but I prefer to, you know, to have my material on the right and drag and drop things into the left. I don't know why my brain sort of works better that way. Let's open up the attribute editor again. I'm just going to move this Arnold render window out the way, and we want to drag and drop this into our color. So we do that with the middle mouse button again. So middle mouse button, drag it up to here, and there you go. It's the weight that is filled in there. And now let's apply it to our t-shirt to see what it looks like. So select our t-shirt and right select and apply to viewport selection. So let's see what we've got here. And as you notice, I've made a classic mistake there, which as I've always said, I like to keep these mistakes in to show you. I've dragged it into the weight, but it should have gone into the color. Okay, so let me undo that. So just in case you do these things, let's do it again. And I will break this connection. You can highlight it and just click delete, and I'm going to select it again, and now I'm going to drag this up to color. Okay, and then I'm going to double click as well to bring to show it. Is it going to do it? Nope. Let's select the t-shirt, right click, assign to viewport selection, and there it goes. It looks good. So let's hit 3 and to smooth here. Move this out of the way, and let's just take a little look. Yeah, looking good. So as you can see our little fabric texture. You can see where I made the white graphic opaque. Let's just do a quick viewport IPR render by clicking the button that we had before, because we've still got the dome light in there that we set up before. And there you go, you can see it in there. Now it looks horrible and shiny at the moment, so let's fix that. So let's go back to our material, and we can edit this live. So let's select the material, and you'll see we have all these attributes under specular. If you don't see them, they might be closed. Just click the little arrow and open them up. You've got the specularity controls here for your material. So all you need to do is just slide down the weight. So as I slide it down, you'll see it's gone completely a sort of flat, not shiny, more like fabric really, but it's good to have a little bit to get some highlight. And you can see if I drag it up, really shiny where it was, and down, so just sort of somewhere down at the moment, sort of like 0.2 is nice for the moment. Obviously, you know, you're going to want to light your character properly later, but at least that's now not overbearing and shiny. And you can see like the trousers are the same, because at the moment that's not even an Arnold material. And in fact, while we're here, we can actually select the skin again, and let's go to our skin material, which was over here. And let's see, and then we can start bringing down the specularity here as well. Here we go, specular shading. Oh, that's our old blend material, so we actually do want the Maya Arnold one, which was under the body one here. There it is. Select the right material, and again, so you've got the weight. He's really shiny at the moment, so let's just bring this down, and as you can see, the skin loses its sort of shiny plasticky look there. You're going to want a bit, definitely, but for now let's just sort of get it down to sort of maybe 0.3 might look good, and there you go, and it's less sort of shiny and glassy at the moment. I'll just let that do a little catch-up render so you can see it properly. There you go, it's looking a lot better. So that's great. So that's the t-shirt base done. But what I want to do is I want to add what's called a bump map to the t-shirt. I want to give it actually some relief. What a bump map does is it sort of fakes texture. It sort of gives it relief. Imagine like an indent or an outdent. So if things are going in or going out, you can use it for all sorts of things, like skin details, cracks in the ground. So what we're going to do is you go back to Photoshop and just create a grayscale bump map that we can use to just give it some relief and give it some more quality to the texture. So let's head on over back to Photoshop and just create that. So in Photoshop, we're going to create our bump map for our character for this t-shirt, and we need to use the same image we used before, obviously, because we want it to match up, so it has to be exactly the same. Now, bump maps have to be grayscale, so you can go up to Image, Mode, and Grayscale. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you some other options you've got for turning your image into black and white and giving you a bit more control. Let's just save our image first, because you don't want to save over your old work. So I'm just going to save this on my computer. I'm just going to call it top or t-shirt bump here in the source images folder, just so we've got it as a backup. We don't want to lose our color work we've done before. And click OK off on the other screen. And then I'm going to, we don't need our graphics, so I'm going to turn that off. We're going to drag it to the bin, and we also don't need our UVs. I'll just turn them off for now. Here we are. So we've got our color image. Now, instead of just going, like I say, grayscale, let's just check this out. So we want to collapse everything first, because we need it as a flat image. So hit the little menu here, go up to flatten image, discard hidden layers, OK. So now we've got our flattened image, there's no layers. Now if we go up to image and then adjustments, there's an option here that says black and white. Now, as you can see, it instantly turns our image to black and white, but it's still RGB, remember that. But you do get a few more options. It's got like a few more built in, so it's got something that's a little bit darker, sort of high contrast, maximum black. You can sort of see the texture in there. Now, just a little note about the bump maps. So the background has to be sort of 50% grey, really. So if your texture was anything that's black or dark, will look like it goes into the geometry, and whatever's lighter or close to white will come out. So that's how the bump works. So you can see the texture here. Anything that's lighter will look like it's bumping out towards us, and anything that's darker will go in. So that's why you want to sort of control how much grayscale and sort of tones you've got. You want it as flat as possible. You don't want shadows on your your images or anything, and there's another way you can do that as well using the high pass custom filter, but we don't need that for today. So I'm going to go with this default for now, and I'm just going to bring the blues down a bit, just to sort of get us something a little bit darker there, and then we can always edit this further to give us more grain. So I'm just going to OK that. And now I am going to turn our image, because we do need it in grayscale. So there we've got our grayscale, yep. And now it's a grayscale image. Now if you want to make this a stronger bump, you do have the control of the strength of it in Maya. But from here you can also control sort of part of the strength by, for example, going to image adjustments and let's say levels or curves or something like that. Let's bring up the curves window. And if you drag this, you can see it goes darker and lighter. So you could sort of get control over how dark the darks and how bright the brights are. So let me show you with the levels as well. Image adjustments and levels, and maybe be able to crush the blacks or white the whites. I'm just showing you this. We don't really need it, but I'm just showing you so you've got it there in your toolkit. So if I drag this down and we crush the values in between, you can see we're getting, this would be a lot stronger bump map. This would be very strong, as you can see. So the whites would come out further and the blacks would go in further. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of I mean, it would be nice to add a little bit, give it a little bit of strength. So let's try something like this. Move the midtones across and you can play with this. Okay, and I'm just going to select on and off preview. So we've just made it a little bit stronger. I'm just going to click OK. That's OK for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save this out as a PNG. So export, quick export as a PNG. And don't forget, we've made this a grayscale, which is very important, into our source images. And then I'm going to go into our textures folder and I'm going to call this topbump.png or t-shirt bump, whatever your clothes are, and save. And now we're going to go back to Maya to apply the bump map and see what it looks like. So back over in Maya, let's add this bump map. So let's grab this bump file, same as before. We're just going to drag it straight into our hypershade and close down the folder. So here is our bump map. Let me just zoom in here, and if I double click just to show a little preview of it, there it is, just sort of our grayscale one there. And what we want to do is we want to apply it into a specific slot of our Arnold shader. So let's select the material, in the hypershade, and you want to go down to where it says geometry and open that up, and you can see there's a little slot here called bump mapping. So we're going to just again middle mouse drag, pop it into the bump slot, and you can see instantly it's added this sort of bump relief. Now let's just do a little quick IPR render again with our viewport so we can see it. There you go. So you can see it gives a bump. Obviously it's a bit too strong at the moment. So if you select your bump node here, which is in between your file node and the slot where it goes in, you can change the strength of it. So up here you've got bump depth and bump value. At the moment it's set to 1. So if we just try and change the bump depth, I'll just show you. If I just change that to say like 0.1, it goes really subtle. Now let's change it. Let's try and bump it up just to something crazy so you can see it like 5. And there you go. You can see it sort of, obviously way too strong, but you can, even though it's only 0 to 1, you can push that above the values. I mean, if you went up to something like 30, you can see it just looks silly really, but obviously it just shows you how it works. Let me just zoom in, let it do a little quick IPR render, so you can see the relief it gives where we made the light bits are coming out and the dark bits are getting pushed in, just to give us this, it's just another way of giving texture. Now you might have heard of something called a normal map. A normal map is it's like a bump map, but it's better. It's sort of like a newer really, but it's made up of RGB values. We won't go into that today because we don't need it, and it often comes from sculpting packages like ZBrush and things. But for now, for learning, the bump map is fine. So I'm just going to take this down to a normal level, say something like that. Let's just try 0.5, see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks good. And when you're zoomed out as well, you don't really notice it, but it just gives that really nice sort of actual fabric feel. So I'm just going to turn off the render, and you can even see it in the viewport here like this. And I'll just show you as I slide this up and down. There, you can really sort of see it go really deep, and you can even go the other way if you want to swap it as well. Watch this. If I go to the minuses, it then swaps it. It's the same as inverting the image. So if I open this image up in Photoshop again and inverted it, so the whites became black and the blacks became white, it's the same as doing that. So as you can see, the bump map. And I hope that gives you a little insight into bump mapping and how it works. And you can also use this same grayscale map and plug it into your specular as well to cover how shiny things are. But we'll leave this for now, and then let's go on and let's get the trousers textured up next. Okay. So for the trousers, when we texture these, we could do it the same as we've done it the other way. So where we could go into Photoshop. You can see I've got UVs on one layer, and I've tried putting in some denim texture underneath. There's lots of available denim textures online and things like this, so you could try that, or painting some details in, or even your own tracksuit trouser color, whatever you want to be. But I want to do this, the trousers, a little bit of a different way this time, and show you how to use a tileable texture. So what we want to do is inside of go into our hypershade. I've got mine docked to the side here again so you can see it. I'm going to click this little button to clear everything out the way, and then we're going to under the Arnold menu create a new AI standard surface material, and you can either name it in here or up in the attribute editor again. So let's call this trousers material AI, or if you're in the States it would be pants, but in the UK we call them trousers here. So let's create this shader here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in, I have a texture in my folder, just a little tileable denim texture. I'm just gonna drag and drop that into our viewport here. Let me just get this one out of the way off the screen, and let's see where it's come in. Let's move this out of the way. So you can see it's a little tiny denim texture here. Let's see. So I've got that one. Actually, I want this one. Let's try this one. Just move that one out of the way. In fact, I can delete that one. We don't need that one anymore. Let's just bring this into the side, and I'm going to plug this in to our trousers material. So first of all, let's just apply our trousers as it is, just at the moment, to our geometry. So you can see it's just the default grey colour, and now we can add our texture to it. So I'm going to click on our Arnold material, and I'm going to middle mouse drag, just like we did before, up to the colour our denim tile. And there it goes in straight away, and it's a tileable texture, which means it's tiling left and right, and you can control how much you're going to tile this. At the moment the fabric's a bit too big for me, so if you remember our UVs, let's just have a little look at our UVs again, just so you remember what they look like. So go up to modeling menu, UV editor, and this will come up here. So as you can see, that these are our UVs the way we did this in one of the previous videos. So our texture is tiling at the moment. It's just tiling across all of this. So what we want to do, I'll just get rid of that window again, is we want to shrink this down. So you can use what's called the Place 2D Texture node. Here it is on the end. So you'll get used to this node editor. You can see the Place 2D Texture controls positioning. This is plugged into our material, which then gives us our surface shader group. So if we go into our Place 2D Texture and go over to the attribute editor, you can see you've got something down here called repeat U and V. So this is X and Y basically. So if we say, I'll just open this up so you can see it. Let's try and zoom in and watch what happens when I change the U and V. So let's just say put something like big, like 10, and as you can see it's a lot smaller because it's tiling more now, and I've only done, and it's really stretched because I've only done it one way, so you have to match them both, and you can see it's really tiny sort of texture now. And you just play with this the way however detailed you want it. So let's just try something like 3 and 3, and then for me that looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that. Yeah, great. And let's just do a quick test, because if you remember the default shader is quite sort of shiny. So let's just bring our sort of Arnold viewport playback. Let's just click play to give us sort of a live preview, and there you go. It looks really sort of like glass and shiny again. So if you remember from a few moments ago, we click on our surface and we go up to specular, and we're just going to drop our weight right down. It doesn't have to be at naught. It's good to have some specular. Now in another video, or maybe a bonus video, I'm going to talk about specular maps, because I'm trying to keep this series as basic as possible. We've covered bump maps, and specular, you can plug them in and it controls which areas of our specular do have shininess and which don't, but for us it's a fabric color, so we just want a tiny little bit of specular. As you can see, that's what it was like before. Drag this down, and that's what it's like here. I'm on about 0.14, something like that, maybe even a bit less actually. Let's take this down to 0.1, don't want it too shiny. Obviously we haven't set up our final lights anyway yet. But you see how quick and easy that was, and because of the way we did our texture, we've got a nice seam going down on the side where you do actually get a seam. So if you had more time, you could go in and sort of model in stitches or a bump map even. You could have a bump map of a line with stitches. But there, so that was pretty. So the trousers were pretty easy to do. So let's just have a little look out here again. So we've got the body, we've got the t-shirt. We're almost good to go, and we've just got the trainers now to do. So again, this is down to design, but let's get on with the trainers next. For the shoes or the trainers, we're going to do it the original way in Photoshop, because we want to be able to put our own design on it. I want you to get creative here, so just try and just add your own icons or sort of logos or whatever you want to it. So let's open up how we did before and open up the UV editor and get our UV layer out. So UV editor, the same as we did before, and we're going to I'll just zoom back here a minute. Let me just we only want the shoe selected, not anything else. If you multiple select, so say if I select shift, select the trousers, it will show everything in one go. So you want to make sure that you only ever select just the geometry that you're going to be working with. Okay, so the same as we did before, image, and we're going to do UV snapshot and bring the window onto this screen, and we're going to we want to do it the same before, so we want a PNG. We're working in 2048, and I'm going to put this out into my images folder, and let's call this shoes UVs, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to put a 2 on the end because I think I already have on there anyway. Let's just check this. So we've got 2048, we've got white and in a PNG, and then just put apply and close, and that will save our image out and close this down. So what we're going to do now is go into Photoshop and find where you put your image, which will be in our images folder. So images. And there we go, shoes UVs. I've got the old one and the new one. Let's just drag it into Photoshop and start working on our design. So you can only just see my UVs here. You might not be able to see it in the screen recording as before. It is there. I've just got a see-through background. So as before, let's just start off just put a white layer in so we can just see what we're doing. Let's see. We'll just put white and put that to the back. And name our top layer UVs, and there you go. So you can see our UVs are in there now, see what you've got. So depending on how you laid out your UVs, if you followed me or you had a different design, I just sort of did a quick opening and a split around the back. That's the actual sole. So you could put a bump map and treads on there if you want. We're going to try and keep this quite simple and quick. I'm going to go with a sort of I think a red trainer. So let's just click new layer, and we'll do this base color. Then we'll select our color that we want to use. So let's go with a nice sort of red, something like this, and shift F5 again and fill with our foreground color. And there we go. So it makes it a little bit harder to see your UV layout there. You sometimes have to zoom in depending on you'll be able to see it on your screen. It just might be the screen recording. So let's see what we want here. I think maybe it would be probably good to. This is the toe of our foot here. So maybe we have like a white sort of toe, so we can actually draw shape layers. You can use other programs as well. It doesn't have to be just Photoshop. You could use Illustrator or anything you want. So I'm going to create a new layer here. Let's just call this something like toe shape, and I'm going to just draw our own sort of shape here. So let's go to let's get the pen tool, and I'm going to make sure I'm on shape at the top, and the fill is going to be white. We don't need a stroke on it. I'll just put that on a 0 for now. And I think our toe ends up sort of around here really. That's the top of the shoe. So, and obviously this is the sole, this bit here. And we've actually applied a separate material in Maya, which you can keep, or you could fill this with white and use that as a whole material, which is probably better, to be honest. But you can sort of do what we did in the previous video, where we applied the material, separate material, to the polygons underneath. So let's just sort of click. I don't know if you know to use the pen tool. We'll obviously. I don't have time to go into it totally now, but you just click and drag, and you get your Bezier handles. So I do have a tutorial in Illustrator which covers sort of Bezier stuff like this as well, actually. So let's just go over to here, and then we'll select off, and you can see we've created sort of a shape here, and you can go into it and edit it now. So let's go into our direct selection tool here, this one here, and you can select the path. Let's just see. There you go. So if you have to drag and select, and we can then drag these handles around just to create a different shape. And you can always come and edit this to to your heart's content, and just work on a decent design. So let me just call this toe shape for now. And what we want to do is, obviously, let's save our file. So file, save as, because you're going to work on this as a PSD layered file. So we want to go into our source images and our cartoon boy textures, and I'm just going to call this shoes underscore material, and save it as a Photoshop file. Okay, and click OK, which has come on the other screen. So all we've done is a base color and the white of the toe. Now I want to get a little bit of a design on here, really. So this is the side of the foot, the inside and the outside, I think, here. So have a little play with it. You might want to do some stripes, or I mean, for now, let's just do a little star or something. So new layer. Let's just call this graphic or logo, whatever you're going to put on it. And we can create a star. So I'm going to use the polygon tool here, and if you just click on it, if you just click once, it will bring up the settings, and I'm going to create a star. Now, a thing you have to notice here: if this star ratio is on 100%, you won't get a star. I'll show you how it works, actually, just in case this drives you mad. So I've chosen 5 sides, and I'm going to click OK, and you see you get a polygon, which is not what we want. We want a star. So if I do that again, just double click to open up the settings. You just click on this and click once to open the settings, and change the star ratio down to sort of 25, 50%, something like that, and then you will get a star. Let's we can change the size of this, 200, okay, and then you can either just click once or just drag it out, and you'll get your star. And over in the properties over here, I mean, this isn't a Photoshop tutorial, but it is something that's driven me mad before. So you can actually sort of, you see how it works there. If I drag the star ratio, it goes in and out. See, that is what tricked me before, actually, looking for that for quite some time. So let's just quickly get this, go back up to my move tool, and I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to zoom in, and let's sort of, something like that there. Let's see what that looks like there. Turn this around, and I want to duplicate this and have it on the other side. So this time I just hold down my Alt key and click and drag over to the other side, and you see it's copied it there. Graphic copy. So let's just zoom out here. Okay, that might look good for now. Let's just accidentally rotated my base color. So what you can do to save accidentally selecting things like that is you can hit this little lock, and you won't be able to accidentally touch it. Okay, and let's just select the graphic copy, which is the star, and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit differently. Okay, and there we go. Obviously you're going to want to do a lot more here, maybe put some details in. I'm just trying to get a basic pattern on there now to try and keep this tutorial not too lengthy, but let's just see what this looks like, because we might have to edit the positioning of this so far. So I'm going to click save, and then as before I'm going to hide my UVs, because we don't want the UVs showing up. Do a file, export, and then a quick export as PNG, and then we go to our source images, and then in your folder you can create as many folders as you want, and we call this shoes matte PNG. So I'm just going to, so I know which one this is, I'm going to call this shoes stars matte PNG. Okay, so we've saved that, and now let's head back to Maya and just apply this to see if our positioning is okay. So back in Maya, let's create a new Arnold shader for our shoes. Now, if you remembered from previous videos when we were modeling this, these were just temporary colors. This is the only geometry that we actually applied different material to the actual polygons, not the whole object. We selected the faces and applied 2 different materials. Now, you can still do that, or you can obviously just paint it in Photoshop like we were doing. So for now I'm just going to apply it to the whole thing, and then we can, because at the moment you will still need to create a new white shader anyway, because the other one was a Blinn, it wasn't an Arnold shader. Okay, so let's just go back to textured view and make this shader here. So what we want to do is clear our, let's open this up again, clear our selection here, create a new AI standard surface shader, and this one is going to be our shoes material. There we go. And sorry, my screen is just not refreshing quick enough there with the recording. And we're going to drag and drop our material that we made just now, the shoes star material. So that one will go into here. There we go. Let's zoom in, and you can see it there. So just as before, we're going to apply this to the color slot. Okay, and we are going to save our file for now. And let's apply this new shoes material and see what the positioning is like. So we might have to tweak this. So I've applied that there. Let's have a little look. Okay, not too bad. As you can see, the toe is on the toe in the correct position. The stars on the side is a little bit squashed. It's probably because our UVs are actually a little bit squashed. You might want to go back and edit those, or you know, you can just squash the star in the other direction to counteract that for now. But obviously, I expect you to spend more time than I have through this series anyway. So let's just do a little quick IPR render with the Arnold renderer again, just to see what it's looking like. Because we do want these actually a little bit shiny compared to the others. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's a little bit obviously too shiny still. So let's knock this back, because before we were taking the specular down, right down, but this one we want it sort of about maybe halfway, sort of 0.5, and that looks quite good. You know, quite like that. So let's just apply this to the other shoe as well. I'm just going to pause the Arnold renderer because it does have a tendency to crash sometimes. So let's just apply that over there. Yeah, not looking bad. So let's just do another quick little quick IPR render. Just click my render button. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So what we want to do really is go back to Photoshop and stretch these back into place and fix them up a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm also going to create a new Arnold shader, and let's apply it to the sole at the bottom. Like I say, you can just paint it in Photoshop if you want. The one advantage of having 2 separate shaders is that you can treat them, differently, different qualities, different like specularities and everything. Obviously, you can use a specular map, but let's just do that for now quickly in here. I'm just going to stop the Arnold renderer, hit save again. Now let's create a new. I'm going to leave this one here for this time, so I'm going to move it to the side. What you do is you middle mouse drag, and you can move the whole sort of workspace around. Let's create a new standard surface shader, and this one is the shoes base, the shoes sole. And let's just give this a nice little white color. Oh, sorry, things catching up with me again here. So we want to do a sort of maybe just an off-white, a little grey, something like that. Yep, that looks good. And what we want to do is apply that to the soles of our shoes. So I'm going to just go back to a smooth shaded view. So that's one there. And I'm going to go to my front view or side view for now, and I'm going to faces, just as like we did before, I'm going to select just those faces there and apply our new material white there. And then I have to do it to the other shoe as well. If we can get that in the front view possibly. Just show none, show polygon so we can see what we're doing. And go to our faces, select those on this side, and then we're going to apply them here as well. And then select object mode. I'm going to go back to our perspective window, and there we go. So let's hit smooth view on those. And let's also use the same white on the tongues as well. For now, you can, your design might differ. You might have more detail. I'm just going to apply them here. There, it's looking pretty good. Nice little design. Obviously, it could do with some more patterns, a bump map, something like that. But I'm just trying to give you, the basics so you can go on and develop these further. Let's just do it. Our last little quick IPR render. Just open it up a bit, and then get my viewport renderer here. There we go. Looks pretty good. So if we zoom out, you can see we've now textured all the clothes successfully. So we've done the t-shirt with the nice bump map. We took the specularity down. We did the jeans with the tileable texture, just a different technique there. And then we did the shoes. We're painting our actual an actual pattern on, and we gave the soles a different color. So what I'd like you to do, obviously you have more time, I'd love you to sort of go in and try and add a bump map to give this sort of like a grid. That would be a good bit of homework, and maybe paint a better texture, something around the back, or a stripe, or maybe bring this up. And we also need to create just a plain black Arnold shader to apply to the shoelaces, and there we go. So that wraps up another video. We're getting really close to the end now. If you've got value out of this, if you could, hit the like button and subscribe, so that I can carry on making more tutorials for you. We've got just a couple more parts. I think what we'll do next is go on and we will learn two different ways to shade the eyeballs as well. One with an adjustable ramp, and then one with just a normal texture. And yeah, then we're almost there after almost sort of 10 hours and 10 parts. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and I will see you in the next video.